everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Fanime 101, the tutorial series that will get you on your way to creating your first reflective Fanime. In today's episode, we will be setting up the foundation for you to create a Fanime. According to the Fanime wiki, to create a Fanime you will need a drawing program, video editing software, a tablet, optional but recommended, a microphone, audio recording program, voice actors, music and sound effects, time, and a story. Quite a long list, huh? I promise you that once we get into the swing of things, this list will become second nature. Let's start off with the first one, shall we? A drawing program. What should you look for in a drawing program? First off, you should consider what device you will use to create your Fanime. The most common is a laptop or personal computer, but mobile phones or electronic tablets can work just as well. The second thing to consider is, how easy is it to animate within your program? Does it come with a built-in animation viewer, timeline, or audio importation? You can't just use any regular art program after all. If you can't view your frames in an animation sequence within the program itself, then it may be a lot harder to create smooth animations. If you're dead set in a drawing program without this feature, then you will have to export your frames and then view them in your editing software to see how it moves. On one hand, this gives you a work in progress, or WIP, timeline to work with later. But personally, as someone who used to draw in an art program, it takes up more time than it's worth. Now technically, an animation viewer is the only real requirement to start making Fanime, but let's have a look at the others. A timeline is useful for timing your animations within the program itself. You can pick how many frames per second, FPS, you would like to use, and how long each frame will stay on screen. The advantage of a program having a timeline is being able to string frames together without the need of an editing program, although you will need one if your animation program does not allow audio importation. Speaking of audio importation, if your program has it, then things like timing and lip sync will be a breeze. It also gives you the option of making an audio version of your episode first and animating second, which may sound a little strange, but it has its advantages. For one, if you want your Fanime to be auditorially striking, then this is the way to go. It also allows you to have more realistic conversations. Since you're focusing on audio first, it gives your brain a way to notice when lines linger for too long. Here's a table of art and animation programs. Take time to try each one out to see which is best for you. Links in the description for these programs. Whoa, that was a lot of info. I hope you're still here, listeners. Going back to the list. Editing software. The first thing you should look out for is watermarks. If your Fanime has a watermark covering the screen, then it can be a big distraction for the audience, which is the opposite of what you want if you're trying to make an immersive Fanime. Of course, parodies are maybe the sole exception to this. There could be humor in seeing layer upon layer of watermarks, though maybe not for too long. The second thing you should consider is, what can I do in the program? Sure, Windows Movie Maker has a simple design and is easy to use, but can you do much in it? You'll definitely want to look for simple effects like moving image positions, zoom, crop, rotations, and transparency. Make sure you're able to keyframe these effects. Sure, these can technically all be done within the animation stage, but it will save time being able to use these 5 simple effects. Now, any other fancy effects can really be seen as sugar on top in my opinion. Another thing you will want to consider is whether you can select and time multiple images at once. This can either be a default, or something you will have to go into commands for. The reason you want this feature is to be able to create a consistent timing for your frames. Speaking of which, here are the timings for the most common FPS timings. Back to the list once more. Tablets. Do you really need one? If you're using a phone or a tablet then, not really. You can use your phone or a digital pen. Although drawing on your PC or laptop is admittedly most comfortable once you get used to it. I would personally not recommend drawing with a mouse or touchpad, as there is no option for sensitivity and there's a slight chance of carpal tunnel. My poor wrists. It's also just difficult to adjust to, with all the space needed and all. Moeki personally uses a Huion tablet. Take time to decide how big you want your drawing tablet to be, whether you want to invest in a screen or not, and your personal budget. You can get drawing tablets from around the £30 mark all the way into the thousands, so there's plenty to choose from. Links to some tablets used by fanimators will be in the description, but please look into reviews for other tablets as well to find your perfect match. Speaking of speaking, microphones, the bane of Fanime's existence. If you want a voice active in your own Fanime, or force your friends and family to, then a good microphone is recommended. No need to fret, dear viewer. You don't need to sell your soul for a good mic. Unlike the olden days, microphones have become more accessible. Things to consider when choosing a microphone are: is it a headset microphone? If so, no! Headset mics are just overexpensive headphones with toasters for mics. Keep that ish to your COD lobbies. Now, if you're choosing your first microphone, Moeki recommends to start off with a USB mic. Here are a list of USB microphones, links in the description for audio tests. Now, if you really want to get fancy and have the time/money to invest in voice acting, Moeki suggests an XLR microphone, which is a fancy term for a microphone that needs a little box thingy to work. Links to XLR microphone tests will also be in the description. In order to use your microphone, you will need an audio recording program. If you want to work audio first, I would recommend using the same program for both. Now, I'll be honest, Moeki has only ever used Audacity, which is one of the most basic programs out there, but there's definitely alternatives, such as GarageBand, although this one's only for Mac, and Reaper. It seems Audacity is the #1 most used program by fanimators though. Now, a big part of Fanime is voice acting. Here are some ways to ethically and unethically source voice actors. Ethical: castingcallclub.com, asking people from the Fanime Castle/Fanime World Discord servers, and voice acting yourself. Unethical: forcing your friends and family to voice act for you. I will be making a more in-depth video on voice acting, specifically what to look for in voice actors and tips for voice acting yourself. Going back to the list, music and sound effects are also huge parts of Fanime. They help set the atmosphere and tone. I recommend using as many copyright-free songs as you can, since YouTube can be a bit weird about copyright. You don't want to spend your time timing your Fanime to a specific song only for it to be blocked everywhere. Flashback to a few months ago. As for obtaining free songs, I recommend using sites like Pocket Sound, Dover Syndrome, and Peritune. They're primarily used for JRPG soundtracks, so it can help put the anime into your Fanime. You can also just look up copyright-free music on YouTube. As for sound effects, YouTube definitely has a lot. A little Moeki trick is to search ASMR, as they tend to use higher quality mics and have multiple takes. Another Moeki trick is, instead of downloading an hour-long video just for one sound effect, go into Control Panel, Hardware and Sound, Recording, then right-click on Stereo Sound and Enable. Now you can record sounds directly from your computer. Just try not to fall asleep while listening to the ASMR, foo-foo. Hear that? That's the sound of time. Time is arguably the most important part of making a Fanime, because if you've no time, then you've no Fanime. It can be hard to find the time between school, work, family, friends, lovers, hobby time, and so on and so forth. But remember, you can start and finish working on your Fanime whenever you please. Don't feel pressured into working non-stop. I know it's a little daunting with how the internet is at the moment, with all its fast-paced content, but remember that the Fanime community will always be waiting for you. Now on to our last thing, the story. I will of course make a full video on this subject, but for now I will say this: have fun! The core of a Fanime is its story, so if you're not having fun with it, then that's how the viewers will feel as well. And this goes for both serious and parody Fanime. Make your story something you want to spend months to years creating. Yes, Fanime takes a long time. Now that I've gone over these base points, we can now begin our journey on creating a Fanime together. The way these tutorials will be formatted will be as though I'm creating a Fanime in real time. I will show you step by step what to do and my decisions throughout. It'll make more sense as the tutorials go on, don't worry. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to reading your comments on what you would like to be covered in this series. Bye bye!